Hey guys, this is Andrew Holmes with Giovanni Laverde, a real estate agent turned investor. So Giovanni, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great. So Giovanni, I wanted to kind of have you because you're kind of unique, right? Which is most real estate agents sell real estate, but they really don't invest in real estate, right? I want to kind of end up there, but what is the problem? What do you think, according to you, is the problem that so many agents take pride in helping their customers yet don't invest? Where do you think the problem is?
Well, I think one of the main problems is really the fact that most real estate agents don't understand real estate investing. They probably know the sales part, but they don't have enough knowledge to really understand the investing side of it.
You know, right now, when you say this, man, certain investors, certain agents, or a lot of agents will get offended. They're like, well, what do you mean that I sell a lot of houses, right? I take pride in serving my clients, but why do you think they don't understand investing?
Well, I think it's for my own personal approach. I've been in real estate for over 15 years, and it's taken me a long time to really understand and be where I am right now, to a point where I'm able to invest and do it the right way, I think.
Okay, so I think a good analogy would be is this. Think about this, right? A top salesperson at a car dealership, maybe the best salesperson in the world, yet owning successful car dealerships, owning a bunch of dealerships. Now, is that the case that they don't understand anything about a dealership? No, they understand a specific job function. Yet selling something and being super successful versus investing are two completely different animals. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Got it. So I want to kind of go back, right? When did you get into real estate initially?
It's been about 15, 17 years.
Okay, 15, 17 years. You're a relatively young guy, right? So you got in real estate in your 20s.
Right.
Okay, and what prompted you? What was the kind of impetus?
Well, I was in sales, and I've been passionate about sales. That's what I like, and from where I was to where I wanted to be, I think real estate was the best vehicle to get there.
And was that here in Chicago? Where was that?
No, I was in Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida. So you're kind of at the height of where the market was great, everything was great, right?
It was booming, absolutely.
It was booming, right? So good times.
Yeah.
Good times, got it. And at the time, were you investing or just doing sales?
I started doing sales to a point where I realized that I was basically helping all of my clients to really achieve their goals, and I decided to start doing the same thing.
Okay, got it. So you're helping your clients reach their goals, not yourself.
Right.
Right? Okay, so you jump into real estate in Naples, right?
Yeah.
Naples, not a cheap market at all, right?
Yeah.
It's an expensive market. So what type of investments were you doing at the time?
Primarily single-family homes and condos.
Single-family homes and condos, right? And single-family homes and condos, what was the strategy at that time when you were investing? What was the strategy?
Well, all we knew back then was really to buy with the expectation that there would be some appreciation.
Okay.
The market was appreciating year after year, and everybody was holding onto a property for 6 months, a year, a day for that matter.
Yeah, and dumping them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so basically, it was at that point in that area, it was really it was hard for properties to cash flow. So that was basically what we were doing, just holding onto the properties and selling them sometime in the future.
Right, and I mean at the time, if you went to South Florida, especially that particular pocket, it was like you could do no wrong, right? You could buy almost anything. 6 months later, boom, it was worth 20% more, 25% more. I mean, people are making money hand over fist, right?
Yeah.
Fancy cars. I mean, you were kind of in the middle of this.
Right.
Right? So what happens? 2007 comes, 2008 comes, what happened?
Well, 2007 comes, and what we see is the market depreciates in Florida anywhere between 50-60% in some areas.
Hold on, let me repeat. Not 15 or 17.
Right.
50,
Right.
70%.
The properties that we were selling at $350,000, which is where the market started, they were down to 100, $110,000, $120,000.
I mean, and these are beautiful properties, mind you.
Right.
Right? So what happens at this time? What do you do?
Well, it's interesting because I actually had quite a few properties rented. Most tenants lost their jobs, especially because there was no industry. Everybody was working in some type of real estate related business. And most of my tenants stopped paying the rent. Therefore, within 6 to 8 months, I was running out of cash.
Got it. So you start suddenly running short of cash, right? There is just no way of stopping the downfall. right? And the interesting part is this: these properties were never bought from a standpoint of making cash flow, so there was really no margin. Would that be correct?
Absolutely, yeah.
No margin. You're kind of on a tightrope. One property fell, it's like the domino effect.
Absolutely.
Right? So what did you do? I mean, did you end up doing BK? Was it a short sale? What was the, because this is ending up in a mess, right? What did you have to go through at that point?
I started selling properties as fast as I could. Had to short sale quite a few of them. And at the end of the day, I was faced with deficiencies on a lot of those short sales. So 3-4 years later, I'm still dealing with the banks, going after deficiencies and repaying debt. And
so this is kind of important, because a lot of times, people are like, oh, well, I did a short sale. They don't understand that there's a deficiency judgment now, right? That you need to deal with. They're like, hey, you were doing well, you're making money. Why are we going to let you off the hook? Correct? So you were still dealing 3 or 4. What was the challenge like mentally at this time? Are you married, kids? What was it on the home front?
Married, 2 kids.
Married and 2 kids,
yeah.
Right? So that creates another challenge, right? Because now you got to bring food home.
Absolutely.
Right? What did you do at that point?
Well, at that point, I went from selling maybe anywhere between 8 to 10 properties on a monthly basis to selling 1.
Okay.
It was drastic, and obviously the price point was a fraction of what it used to be. So I transitioned into the REO business. I started selling properties for the banks. I opened a team, and I created a structure underneath me to basically service and manage those properties.
Got it. So you have no other choice, right? A lot of times, I remember those times, because a lot of times people are like, Andrew, you don't understand, man. These REO agents are killing it, man. They're killing it. Look at the amount of properties. I'm like, listen, dude. A lot of these REO agents at one time, right? They were regular agents. Just because they're doing big numbers doesn't mean it's a lot of money, right?
Absolutely.
So when you were doing REO properties, what kind of volume are we talking about here?
At the peak of the market, we were doing over 200 properties a year.
200 properties a year. So you're moving some big volume,
yeah.
Right? Now, big volume, a lot of people assume, oh my God, he's just minting in dough, right? They never think about the big headaches, the big overheads, all the rest of the stuff that comes with that kind of volume, right? So at this point, you're doing 200 or so deals. What kind of money are we talking about here? Were you bringing a lot of money home?
No, the growth was pretty significant, even though we had a reduced commission on all with all banks. But at the end of the day, once you with 7 employees and a massive overhead, we were running with very thin numbers.
Very thin margins,
yeah.
Right? Because that's really what it boils down to, is what is your margin when everything is said and done? So what was the transition of coming to Chicago? How did you kind of decide that?
Well, I came here for a real estate seminar. I fell in love with the city. I was ready for a change, actually. I having the seasons and maybe new opportunities made me decide to try something new. So that's
kind of how you kind of ended up here. Okay, got it. So when was that?
It's been 7 years.
7 years. So you've been to Chicago 7 years. So today, what do? You sell real estate.
I sell real estate, yes.
Okay, you sell real estate. And then on top of that, when you came to Chicago, now most people, right, a lot of times they'll get their hands burned, which you got in Florida, and they would be like, oh man, I know everything there is to know about investing. I'm never investing again. It doesn't work. Yet you're looking at investing differently today, right? What was the impetus for coming back to investing?
Well, I mean, deep inside I knew that real estate was the vehicle. I simply had the wrong approach, and I started doing a lot of research, looking into different ways to actually make it profitable in a safer way, most importantly. And that's how I came across Mastery and the 3D.
So you kind of came across us, you met us, right? And if anything, we're very anti-exciting things. I don't like exciting things. The only thing I like exciting is planes and cars, which are very exciting. But in real estate, I don't like excitement at all. I want to be as boring as humanly possible, right? Coming from where you came from, you were ready for that approach, which is do very non-exciting things?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I was ready for whatever it took to make it work.
Okay, got it. So you come here and we met, this is October, last year, October, right? So 2018, October, so this is less than 8 months, literally, right? 8 months ago, you're selling real estate, not doing any investing at that time.
Correct.
Right? And in 8 months, you've made a drastic change, right? So today, how many rental properties do you have right now?
8 properties.
8 properties total. Okay, so you have 8 rental properties, and 8 properties all rented out, net cash flow after all expenses. What kind of cash flow is that?
Average in the 400s.
Average is 400, so about,
Or 450 or so.
you know,
As an average.
about 450 or so. So easily on 8 properties, you're doing about $2,400-$2,500,
Right.
right? About that, if not a little bit even more, right? Now, let me ask you this: are you buying properties based on equity, cash flow, or appreciation?
Well, mainly cash flow.
Mainly cash flow. Okay.
Uh,
So let's talk about, like, let's take a property, like a typical property that you would buy, right? Purchase price would be how much, ballpark?
80,000,
80,000 purchase price. Rehab, ballpark?
20,000.
About 20,000. And purchase and rehab, you'll have some 8,000 carrying cost. So you're in this deal for about 105, 108. Very simple property, right? Nothing fancy. And what is this property worth when you're done with the rehab?
Probably 130,
130, 130 to 140. So this is a very simple formula, right? 130 to 140. You have equity in the property as you go in it, right? Instead of flipping the property, these types of properties, you're keeping them for rentals, right? And what is the goal? Is the goal, man, I make an extra $2,500 a month. It's great. I'm going to take vacations with it. What are you doing with that extra money?
Well, no, actually, I'm keeping the money. I'm rolling the money into the mortgages. The goal really is to pay them off quickly and use basically a strategy that you teach.
And be free.
Absolutely.
Right? Because this is something that is very, very hard. And a lot of times it bothers me personally because, you know, if you've been in a career, if you've walked in somebody's shoes, it bothers you, especially real estate agents. And it's whenever a real estate agent tells me, Andrew, I know what you do, you know, and I don't want to fix toilets, right? This is kind of the craziest thing. And I'm like, guys, we have over 200 properties, rental properties we own. I don't even know, you know, how to fix a toilet. That's why it's called a plumber, right? You make a call and that's it. I don't manage the headaches. If done properly, real estate rentals can build you massive amount of wealth. Why is it that this is a relatively simple concept that our fellow realtors, people in the industry, the loan officers don't understand this?
Well, you know, obviously knowledge is one of the most important parts of it, and really having the tools and being able to connect the dots. Although I kind of knew what I was heading for, I still didn't know exactly how that was going to happen and how the funding was going to take place. So it's just a matter of knowledge.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because a lot of times real estate agents, right, they'll have a nice car, right? They're cool, they take pictures in front of cool houses, you know, beautiful videos, right? It looks like, oh my God, man, you just have it going on, right? Yet, you know, and I know, 99% of real estate agents have no savings, right? They just do not have any savings, and if 6 months they could not work, they would be in big trouble, right? And it's not a taunt on anybody, just understand I was there, right? So I mean, I'm the first one to admit that it's a great career, just that you're running on a treadmill, right?
Pretty much.
And a lot of times this concept of doing basic simple rentals, right? We talk about it as 257. 2 years, 5 properties, get them all paid off in 7, right? Is that kind of the path you're going down basically?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm speeding up the process a little bit, and obviously my goal is to get another 10 within the next year or so.
Right. So you're about 18 to 20 properties is what you want.
Right.
Right.
Well,
So we were talking about funding a little bit, right? I want to kind of go back to that, because a lot of times people won't admit it, but their biggest challenge is, number one, they really don't know what a deal is, and the other big challenge is they don't have the money, right? So how do you fund your deals today?
Either through partnerships, private money, or hard money lenders.
Okay, so partnerships, private money, and hard money lenders. Now, you do understand when you talk about private money, people are like, well, but I don't know anybody with money, right? This is the other thing that comes up
Right.
all the time. They're like, well, but who's going to give me $100,000, right? So you borrowed private money. Who did you borrow it from?
Master's students and actually clients of mine, people that I actually know, and once explain the process and how it works, it's really a win-win for everyone.
Right? So you're paying them a good interest rate. You're buying the property, rehabbing it, using their funds, refinancing it, putting a nice long bank loan on it, and then paying it off 10 years, 12 years. Boom.
Right.
It's done.
It's a great return for an investor. Most importantly, a secure investment, which is really hard to find.
Right. And I think a lot of times what happens is whenever, as real estate agents, we're taught all the time, you have to do the right thing, helping your clients, you're supposed to, be a professional, blah, blah. And we get so caught up in that whole thing, which is great. Yet we forget about our own families, right? We're helping everybody find a house, yet we can't do well for ourselves in terms of building wealth. Not just earned income, but in terms of building wealth. It's a treadmill that we run on, and we just keep running and running and running. And every year, it gets harder to run on the treadmill. So as we kind of wrap up, any thoughts that you share with people that are just like you, and that say, well, this is all well and good, but I'm going to keep running on my treadmill?
Well, I think it's a matter of time before you realize, or we all realize that, either we're not going to be able to, or we're simply not going to have the energy or the time to actually, go and chase a deal or go in and do what it is that we do. And if we don't start planning ahead and actually thinking for the future, we're not going to have basically the retirement, and we're not going to have the lifestyle that I'm sure all of us are looking for.
Great. Having said that, I think it's very well said, right? So, and I think the reason we bring people like you on, different people on, that we want people to realize that just because we happen to be in the profession of doing something, what real estate does is one thing. That is that it helps you make money, which is run on a treadmill. The faster you run, the harder you work, the more money generally you will tend to make. But the question is this: how long are you going to keep running on this treadmill? For the next 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years? And then the day you want to start running, or maybe just slow down, do you have anything to show for it? This is Andrew Holmes, but it's been a great time having you on. So thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
to come on. I think people enjoyed the interview.